Okay.
So, and if you really want to get this into you want to use the argument when it suits you to say that the big conferences like the SEC and the Big Ten, when that suits your argument there, you can play them. But when you want to defend the Big 12, you start going to basketball conferences like Conference USA or the MAC or an ACC.
Okay, so obviously, of the 5 power conferences, the Big 12 is the weakest top to bottom.
Yeah, they're 6 out of 5.
That's obvious. We're not arguing that the Big 12 is better than the ACC,
and just
or the
because
Big 12
the Big 12
is better than
is a top 5 power conference. I don't think it should be given to their teams that makes them somehow better magically.
I'm not saying that it makes them better. I'm saying the talent of Oklahoma State is what puts them ahead of others.
And you take Oklahoma State and you put them in the Big Ten or the SEC, they don't even have a winning record.
The SEC, that's also a lie. Because the SEC they're very top heavy. Let's go through the SEC really quickly.
Okay, maybe they have a winning record, but they certainly don't get into the argument of a top 10 team.
They can beat Ole Miss. They can beat Mississippi State. They could beat Arkansas. Texas A&M would give them a good game. LSU, Auburn could beat them. Those games could go either way. They would crush Missouri. They would demolish Vanderbilt. South Carolina is an absolute joke. Kentucky, now we're just talking about basketball schools again. So
okay, and then after that, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida.
You were just saying
Tennessee they would probably beat, but they're not beating Florida. They're not beating Georgia.
I think they beat Florida.
No.
I think they
way.
beat Florida. I think
no
Florida
way.
I think Florida is overrated.
No way.
I think Florida is overrated. All right. So Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. I mean, they didn't get worse. Well, Oklahoma did actually. Oklahoma got quite a bit worse. But Oklahoma State did not get worse, are only a few spots different from where they were to end the season, and other teams around them in that top 10
I hope they
got
lose
worse.
to UTEP in the first game.
And if they do...
Or that would be Oklahoma, so I hope they lose to UTEP in the first game too.
Yeah, I hope they do as well. I hate Oklahoma.
Just click on the Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
Just.
I'm not good with technology.
It's alright, we got this.
Alright.
Now click on that.
Okay.
Actually, try that.
Yeah, try this right here. So they're playing Tulsa.
Tulsa, lost.
My Golden Hurricane.
What is this? USA? Who is USA?
South Alabama, the Jaguars.
Oh, okay. It's like, what, are they playing the USA team? Yeah. What is this?
It's Tom Brady.
Bunch of kids that didn't get selected to colleges?
Oh, man.
What is this team?
All right, so that gets us to the last group. And we're going to start that now. At number 5 from the ACC, we have the Florida State Seminoles. At number 4 from the Big Ten, we have the Ohio State Buckeyes. At number 3 from the Big Ten, we have the Penn State Nittany Lions. At number 2 from the Pac-12, we have the USC Trojans. And that means, obviously, number 1 from the SEC, we have Vanderbilt.
Roll Tide.
And obviously, it's Alabama.
Yeah.
And my number 30 team, and I went back and forth between 2 teams on this. My number 30 team is Miami Hurricanes.
Well, who is your other back and forth of?
The other team that I was going with, and you're going to hate this, is Appalachian State.
Oh yeah, I do hate that. You're right.
They were 10-3 last
You're right,
season.
I do hate that.
They were 10-3 last season.
I agree with the Miami one because I'd like to see what happens with Miami. I think Miami is one of those schools that's so flashy that people always seem to think that they're going to be better than they always seem to be.
Yeah.
And every once in a while they strike gold and get a plethora of talent.
Right.
Florida State actually concerns me because I'd like to see how they're going to do. It seems to me almost inevitable that they're going to have to hit a wall at some point in their recruiting. I don't know when it will be. But right now, Florida State safe at 5. 3 and 4, I would have switched personally, but it's obviously that it's fan base driven.
It's not fan base driven. You're switching
to an extent. No, I think Ohio State is much better than Penn State, given the fact that where did you rank in your recruiting this year?
I think you're on drugs.
Ohio State was number 2 in recruiting in the country.
Congratulations, you got a bunch of good 17-year-olds, which was against your argument.
We have been in the top 5 in recruiting for the top 5 years. Or the last 5 years. What are you talking about?
Here's
so that's talent that's stretches from 17 to 22 as far as the best in the country.
Here's the reason why Penn State deserves to be ahead of Ohio State.
Because they touch boys.
Wow. So we're talking about some low-hanging fruit there. No.
It is low-hanging fruit.
He passed.
You've been doing satanic things in your locker room, and that's how you've been getting wins.
No, really, because they had a lot of losses.
That's because you had to stop doing it.
We had
got caught.
We had to deal with Christian Hackenberg for 4 years.
That's why you were losing. Actually,
That's
definitely
why we were losing. So the reason I put Ohio State behind Penn State is for the fact that you lost almost your entire starting secondary. You lost your starting running back, which I know they have a good running back backing up Curtis Samuel, but he's not Curtis Samuel. And
Curtis Samuel wasn't that good.
Curtis Samuel was very good.
No, he wasn't. Not as far as Ohio State running backs go.
And Penn State's defense didn't get any worse, losing Garrett Sickles. And their defense it's getting stronger on the defensive line.
Actually, in all fairness, honestly, the 3 and 4, the way you had them, to me, are interchangeable. Because I feel that should hold at that spot and should stay there until they meet in the horseshoe.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason that either one of them will get dismissed.
Is your top 4 in this list also who you think will make it to the
No. This is just the start.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you put USC at number 2?
No, he's got Oklahoma State in the
I have
national tournament.
You really don't want to let go of Oklahoma
So
State.
there's a caveat to that. I'll get to that in a minute. But I have Penn State at number 3 ahead of Ohio State because I just don't trust Ohio State's quarterback. I don't even remember who it is.
Do you mean
JT Barrett? Yeah.
The guy who's broke almost every Ohio State quarterback record.
He couldn't throw against Michigan. He couldn't throw against Penn State. That was all Curtis Samuel, and he's gone.
Yep, there's a reason that the quarterback coach got replaced this year. Also,
Penn State has Saquon Barkley, who I trust more than almost any other player in college football. He is definitely one of the 3 Heisman finalists.
When it came down to the end of the year,
I'm sure he's second.
You had, who was it? Michigan, Oklahoma State, Wisconsin their name was thrown in there, and Penn State. Penn State was my surprise. I didn't think that they were.
No one thought Penn State was going to win more than 7 games.
Yeah, I didn't see it coming.
I do like USC where you put them. I think USC is extremely talented.
Do you put USC in the 4-game tournament?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Do you put them winning?
No. The problem is they're going to have to come out this season the way they ended last season. If they can do that, they're going to be very hard to beat by anybody in the country. Anyone.
And is anyone fighting Alabama at number 1?
I'm sick of it, but I'm not fighting
I wish they weren't. But
So here's how I have it broken down for the college football playoff. Alabama number 1, USC number 2, Penn State number 3, and then at number 4, either Oklahoma State or South Florida, depending on how they do.
You always like to have a dark horse in there, don't you?
I do, but I think South Florida, if any team besides Alabama is going to go undefeated, it's South Florida.
So with the history of this for the last few years of the tournament and Ohio State being right there every time, you don't think Ohio State's going to have a chance this year?
I don't think it's not that they don't have a chance. I just don't think they're going to be one of the teams that make it. I think because scheduling also is going to kill them. Because you've gone into college football recently, Nebraska.
Yeah.
They're always great to start the season, in the middle of the season, and the end of the season, they fall off. Ohio State has to play them early on. So they're going to get absolutely beat up.
Ohio State has a very tough schedule this year. They're going to have to be... not to mention they have Nebraska early. They play Oklahoma in the second game of the week.
Second game of the year?
Second game of the year. They're playing against powerhouses. And me and Dan are of this assumption, but I think ESPN's a little... how should I put this? Cloudy-eyed in accepting this. But the Big Ten is where the talent lies as far as NFL-ready football talent is concerned.
The regular season for Ohio State, and bear with me, I'm going to make arguments for some things. They start at Indiana, which doesn't make sense. Then they play Oklahoma, which that's going to be an absolute dogfight.
And that's
Well,
gonna
it's at home,
That's gonna be a
thankfully.
hard match.
Then they play against Army. Army's going to be a tough game for them.
Army's better than people realize.
Navy, a lot of people forget, Navy was ranked last season, Army beat them.
Mm-hmm.
And Navy deserved to be ranked.
Yes, they did.
Then UNLV, who's a team you don't want to sleep on.
No, but
They're-
that's it. But at Ohio State, that should be an
Yeah.
easy win.
And then-
Rutgers is a win.
That's a
You
doormat.
might as well not even play them.
Maryland will probably, last season, the biggest surprise besides Penn State beating Ohio State was how tough Michigan State played Ohio State. That's Maryland this year. I don't think they beat them, but I think they catch Ohio State sleeping, and they give them a really
and
good
then that
game.
stretch right there in the middle concerns me.
Nebraska.
At
Nebraska, Penn
home against
State,
Penn State, and then
Iowa,
on the road
at
against
Kinnick.
Iowa.
Michigan
That's
State.
it. At Kinnick. Kinnick Stadium is one of the worst stadiums to play in. Opposing teams do not want to play there.
They play Indiana twice.
No.
No, Illinois.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Illinois. And then they
Okay.
close with Michigan again.
Well, we always close.
You're
with
right. From Nebraska down, that's a really hard schedule.
And then let's go to Penn State and we'll see their schedule.
Matchup predictor: 86% favor Ohio State.
That is a bit ridiculous.
Actually, I think it should be closer to the middle, but I like it.
Yeah, of course
you
you
do.
like it. So Penn State's schedule, which is a little bit easier.
Not by much though. The Big Ten has just got so many talented teams, and don't sleep on Illinois either. Now that they have Lovie Smith coaching,
Yeah, so they play Akron to start the season.
that's a win.
They play Pitt, who's without James Conner, who's without Nate Peterman. That's a win. They play Georgia State. So they get basically 3 weeks of rest before they get to go to Iowa. Iowa's going to be their first real test. It's going to be a rested, well
Who do you
prepared.
have towards the end though?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Not
Rutgers is nice. Nebraska at home is not bad.
and that's after Nebraska hits their inevitable
Yeah.
wall and falls.
You have Maryland. Is that
Maryland, yeah.
Closeout isn't bad.
The only games that I think are actually really threats
Michigan and
are
Ohio State
we have
back to
Michigan
back
at
are tough.
home, which again Michigan I could honestly I don't think it's going to happen, but if Michigan falls out of the top 25, I wouldn't be surprised.
Michigan, Ohio State back-to-back weeks, no layoff is a tough. It's a tough ask for anyone.
Yeah. Plus, again, Barkley and McSorley both on Maxwell watch list. I have a problem with McSorley. He is the reason they lost the Rose Bowl. He just tries to be the hero, and it doesn't work very well in all situations. If he didn't try and force that throw that got intercepted to Mike Gesicki, who, by the way, is now one of the top tight ends in college football, now that Jake Butt and David Njoku and what's his name, Howard are gone, he's going to be one of the tight ends to watch. So they have a pretty... The middle of the season, which is where you want them to have the tougher games, is where where Penn State has them. Northwestern's not going to be a cakewalk, but they're gonna beat Michigan, I'm sure. I think they're going to beat Ohio State.
I don't think you are going to beat us when you come into the Horseshoe specifically. The Horseshoe is not an easy place to play. The same way I don't like playing in Happy Valley. You know Penn State's not going to be thrilled to be going in there.
Kinnick is the one stadium I hate when Penn State goes to.
That's a possibility too. Nebraska is always tough at home. A lot of Big Ten teams are very good at home.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they get to eat their
Bagel with no cream cheese,
exactly. But
butter only.
Honestly, the only
NCAA rules.
exactly, unless it's from the dining hall.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, but honestly, the only, and this is going to sound like me being just a fanboy, the only game, if you were to tell me Penn State's going to lose a game, I would say it's going to be Ohio State. But I don't think they're going to.
I think there's a possibility that the one loss between those. There is a possibility that this season could end up where Michigan or Penn State and Ohio State have one loss between the two of them, and it's that game.
One of those two teams goes undefeated. Penn State or Ohio State. One of those two teams goes
But
undefeated.
my question is, I could see a situation where if USC does as
I
well
don't
as they
think either
should,
one of them are gonna-
Alabama does as well as they do, and if the one loss between the two schools is the game that they played each other, best believe that they both should get into the playoff.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's gonna rely on a few things. We all know that Alabama is probably going to go undefeated again. Their biggest test really is going to come in the first week, in my opinion, and that's Florida State.